Yeah, you heard that right. The former FBI director, fired by Donald Trump in 2017, is now fighting charges brought by Trump's own Department of Justice, and doing it with the calm of someone who knows the next move belongs to him. Here's the kicker. His defense isn't just about proving innocence, it's about putting the Justice Department itself on trial. According to filings reviewed by Financial Times and The Guardian, the Trump-led DOJ charged Comey with lying to Congress and obstructing a congressional proceeding. The case hinges on testimony he gave in 2018 about FBI briefings connected to the Clinton email inquiry and Russian interference assessments. The indictment was filed at the last possible moment, just days before the statute of limitations expired. That timing, analysts agree, wasn't coincidence. It was choreography. To the DOJ, this is accountability delayed. To Comey's allies, it's revenge delivered. His attorneys have already announced plans to file motions to dismiss the case, arguing vindictive and selective prosecution, and questioning the legality of the U.S. attorney's appointment. As AP News reports, they intend to challenge whether the prosecutor was chosen for independence or loyalty. In other words, Comey's team is turning the accusation back on the accuser. They're saying this isn't justice, it's payback dressed as law. The symbolism isn't lost on anyone. The man once accused of weaponizing the FBI against Trump is now accused of being targeted by Trump's DOJ. Same stage, different roles. Same feud, new season.
The moment Comey's plea hit the airwaves, Washington cracked down the middle. Conservative commentators called it a long overdue reckoning. Liberal voices called it a constitutional crisis. And every news chyron screamed the same word, retaliation. At the White House, Trump's allies framed it as proof that no one is above the law. At the Capitol, Democrats saw the opposite, a test whether the rule of law still means anything at all. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer blasted the indictment as a personal grudge disguised as prosecution. Over on Fox News, loyalists cheered the DOJ for finally holding the deep state to account. But even inside the GOP, cracks are forming. One Republican strategist told The Guardian, if this case collapses, it doesn't just clear Comey, it embarrasses the entire administration. And that's the risk no one in Trump's circle wants to say aloud. If Comey wins, he doesn't just walk free, he rewrites the story of Trump's second term. Behind the courtroom drama lies a deeper fight over power. Who controls justice? The institutions or the man in the Oval Office? Inside the Department of Justice, morale is brittle. Career prosecutors are whispering about the chill, the fear that every investigation, every indictment now carries a political shadow. Financial Times quotes one former DOJ official saying, "The timing and tone make this look less like law enforcement and more like score settling." And it's not just the timing. Comey's lawyers are pressing for access to internal DOJ memos and any correspondence between prosecutors and Trump's advisors. If those records show even a hint of coordination, the implications are seismic.
Think about it. The Justice Department, designed to be independent, dragged into proving it didn't act on presidential orders. That's not just legal exposure, that's institutional peril. Trump, for his part, isn't backing away. At a rally in Des Moines, he told supporters, Comey lied and nobody made him answer for it. Now he will. The crowd erupted, but behind that applause, Washington insiders heard something else. A line that might echo in future court filings as Exhibit A for motive. Every public comment adds to the argument that this case is personal. And in law, perception often matters as much as proof. The schedule is set, trial on January 5th, 2026. But the real verdict, the one that shapes public belief, will be written long before a jury sits down. If Comey's team succeeds in forcing discovery, internal DOJ communications could become public. Emails, drafts, calendar entries, anything suggesting pressure from above. That's why, according to the Washington Post, senior DOJ officials have already consulted outside counsel, anticipating subpoenas. Meanwhile, public trust continues to erode.
A recent Reuters Ipsos poll shows 57% of Americans believe the Justice Department is politically influenced. Under Trump, that number was supposed to go down. Instead, it's climbing again. And here's the irony. Every time the administration promises to restore faith in justice, the country believes it less. Comey understands that. That's why his legal strategy is as much about optics as evidence. He's calm, disciplined, rarely speaking. Each court appearance is a message. I trust the process. Do they?
Reporters outside the courthouse described him as measured, almost serene. It's the demeanor of a man who's been here before and learned how to weaponize patience. And maybe that's the part that unnerves Trump's DOJ most. Comey isn't acting like a defendant. He's acting like a plaintiff in waiting. If his motions succeed, the fallout won't just touch one prosecutor. It could pull senior officials, maybe even political appointees, into the discovery net. Every email, every note, every whispered instruction could end up in court. As The Guardian put it, the risk for Trump's DOJ is that in trying to punish Comey, it puts itself on trial. And that's the paradox of power. The harder you grip it, the faster it slips through your fingers. Across Washington, old ghosts are stirring. The Nixon comparisons are back. The talk shows are replaying Watergate montages. History doesn't repeat, but it definitely rhymes. Comey's defense isn't promising a miracle. It's promising exposure. His lawyer, Patrick J. Fitzgerald, told reporters outside court, "We welcome a transparent process. Let the facts speak for themselves." Translation, we're not hiding. Are you? That one sentence hit the Justice Department like an artillery shell, because transparency is the one thing Washington fears more than guilty. Every insider knows the stakes. If the case implodes, it's not just a loss, it's proof that Trump's promise to end the weaponization of justice has backfired spectacularly. And that's why tonight the tension isn't in the courtroom. It's in the halls of power, where aides and attorneys are already drafting contingency plans.
Collapse. Chaos, shut down. Because when a case like this starts to turn, it doesn't just collapse, it takes walls with it. By the end of the week, one phrase was everywhere: not over yet. Not in the headlines, not in the investigation, and definitely not in the story of how two men, a president and a former FBI director, can't stop reliving the same war. Comey's next move could change everything. He's no longer the investigator or the accused. He's the mirror reflecting what happens when power and prosecution become the same thing. But here's the question hanging over D.C. tonight. What happens if he proves it? What if James Comey, the man Trump once called the ultimate leaker, walks into court and turns the president's own Justice Department into the defendant? Because every motion Comey files is now a risk multiplier. It isn't just about winning the case, it's about uncovering the process that built it.
Across the Capitol, analysts are warning of a quiet constitutional tremor. Former DOJ officials told the Washington Post that if Comey's vindictive prosecution claim survives, the court could order limited discovery, meaning internal DOJ communications might be reviewed by a judge. If any message even hints at political motivation, that finding alone could be devastating. Think about that. A single email showing pressure from above could validate the very narrative Trump's critics have repeated for years, that justice in America is no longer blind, it's branded. This isn't theoretical. In 1973, when the Nixon White House tried to steer the DOJ's hand, the backlash birthed the Saturday Night Massacre. In 2016, Hillary Clinton's FBI inquiry exposed how timing alone can weaponize perception. And now, in 2025, Trump's second-term Justice Department faces the same stress test, only magnified by technology, polarization, and the 24-hour media lens. Every leak becomes an algorithmic firestorm. Every headline shifts the market of belief. The DOJ isn't just fighting Comey, it's fighting the public's suspicion that every prosecution is political until proven otherwise. Inside the department, senior officials are reportedly urging restraint.
Financial Times quoted one aide saying, "If we lose this on perception, we lose the country on principle." But restraint and politics rarely share the same room for long. Trump's allies see something different. They see a chance to settle the old score. The humiliation of the Russia probe, the years of headlines that cast him as compromised. To them, this case is poetic justice. To his opponents, it's proof that revenge now wears a badge.
That polarity defines modern Washington. Every investigation births a counter-investigation. Every hearing spawns a subpoena. Accountability has become infinite recursion, each side chasing the ghost of fairness. Political historians call it the retaliation loop. It's the cycle America can't seem to break. From Hoover to Watergate, from Benghazi to Mueller, the same question echoes through every era. When the system investigates itself, who keeps it honest? Comey, for all his controversies, understands performance. He writes, he testifies, he plays the long game. During the plea hearing, AP News noted that he barely spoke, only to confirm his name and plea. But his silence told the story for him. While Trump's DOJ shouted justice, Comey simply stood there, letting cameras capture calm against chaos. It's the oldest strategy in Washington: let the other side overplay their hand. Because in the court of public opinion, composure beats volume. And that's exactly what unnerves Trump's advisors. They know Comey can turn restraint into narrative. He's done it before. One former DOJ official told The Guardian, Comey doesn't need to win in court to win in history. That line cuts deep, because in D.C., survival isn't measured in verdicts, it's measured in legacies. Meanwhile, legal scholars are warning of collateral damage. If Trump's DOJ loses the motion to dismiss, the precedent could limit executive authority over federal prosecutors, effectively weakening presidential influence over justice for years to come. Ironically, Trump's own case could shrink the power he fought to consolidate. That irony isn't lost on anyone inside the Beltway. Reuters summarized it best. Each administration promises independence until independence threatens control.
The hearing calendar leading to January 2026 is already packed. Pre-trial conferences, discovery deadlines, potential witness lists. Each step opens another chance for exposure. Each leak feeds another media cycle. And as the months pass, the 2026 midterm campaigns will weaponize every revelation. Expect two slogans, one red, one blue, both claiming to defend the rule of law. This isn't politics. This is sabotage. This isn't the first time a Justice Department bent under political gravity. It happened in 1952 when Attorney General McGranary faced charges of favoritism. It happened in 2007 with the firing of U.S. attorneys under Bush. It happened again in 2019 when Barr intervened in sentencing decisions for Trump allies. Each incident eroded another layer of institutional trust. Each made it easier for the next administration to push the line a little further. What's different now is the speed. Scandal measured in clicks, outrage in minutes. The DOJ's internal email server is slower than Twitter. And by the time a statement clears review, the narrative's already written without them. That's how democracy starts to lose its reflexes, not through coups, but through confusion. Analysts see three outcomes, each equally explosive. Scenario 1, containment. Comey's motions are denied, the case moves quietly to trial, and the DOJ keeps its secrets sealed. Trump's allies declare victory, the opposition screams cover-up. Public trust continues to slide, slowly but steadily. Scenario 2, exposure. A judge allows limited discovery. Internal emails leak. Proof of political involvement surfaces, not necessarily by Trump himself, but by aides chasing approval. That single revelation detonates across Washington. The DOJ scrambles to justify itself, and Trump's narrative of draining the swamp turns into a headline about drowning in it.
Scenario 3, backfire. Comey's motions fail, the evidence holds, and a conviction lands. Trump's DOJ claims vindication, but Democrats seize on procedural flaws to argue it was a show trial. Half the country cheers, half the country doubts, and no one believes fully anymore. Each path leads to the same destination, deeper cynicism. Because even if justice is served, it no longer feels neutral. Public institutions run on faith, the belief that rules apply evenly. Once that belief fractures, systems still function, but legitimacy dies quietly in the background. That's the real consequence of the Comey trial. Not the verdict, but the corrosion of confidence. Every headline erodes the myth that law and politics can ever be separated again. As Financial Times noted, the case may define not who wins in court, but what Americans believe about justice itself. And maybe that's why both sides are so desperate to own the ending, because whoever controls the story controls the future. So tonight, as the lights of the Justice Department burn late into another Washington night, the question hangs heavier than ever. Is this accountability or annihilation? James Comey has played his move. Trump's DOJ has taken the bait, and the next filing, a single sheet of legal language, could redraw the balance of power in the world's oldest democracy. Think about that. If a president can prosecute his investigator, what stops the next president from prosecuting his? And if both sides keep playing that game, what happens when justice becomes just another campaign weapon?
Yeah, it's not over yet. Not for Comey, not for Trump, and definitely not for America's fragile idea of justice. Because when politics and prosecution finally collide, someone always wins the case, but everyone loses the country. Like, share, and subscribe, because when the next motion drops, it won't just shake Washington, it'll test the system itself.